Government has cancelled licenses of 18 pharma companies across the country due to violation of manufacturing practices. My colleague Ekta Batra joins in now with more. Ekta, thank you for joining us. What more can you tell us about this decision and the impact?
The centre has cancelled licenses of 18 pharma firms across the country due to violation of good manufacturing practices. Some firms were directed to stop manufacturing on account of poor quality medicines as well. A joint inspection of 76 firms was carried out across 20 states by the CDSCO and State Drug Administrator. Around 203 units had been identified for potential violations. Majority of the firms, we understand, are set to be located in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Madhya Pradesh. Remember, this nationwide crackdown comes in the wake of two recent incidents of allegations of spurious drugs manufactured by Indian companies and supplied to Uzbekistan and Gambia. So how has India's pharma space reacted to this? To discuss that and more, we have with us Ravi Uday Bhaskar, who is the Director General of India's Pharma Export Council, and Dr. Sanjeet Singh Lamba to discuss more on the issue. Dr. Singh as well as Mr. Bhaskar, thank you very much for joining in. Well, Mr. Bhaskar, I'll start with you. What is your reading with regards to the 18 pharma firms who have lost their licenses or the licenses have been cancelled? Are we finally taking the required measures when it comes to spurious drugs in the country?
Thank you, Batra. Actually, it's a right move. And we appreciate it, and they're moving in the right direction. But, it is the responsibility of the regulators and the government to build the trust, confidence in consumers about the quality and safety of the medicines being consumed. So then they need to enforce the regulations of the Land, Drugs and Cosmetics Act and rules. There is certainly a crying need to overhaul the regulatory mechanism in the country to keep strict vigilance on the entire supply chain mechanism. So Schedule M, it's nothing but a good manufacturing practices. So if you see this, I'm not going to see these 18 companies' licenses are being cancelled and they inspected. It's part of the job of the regulators. But unfortunately, we are taking too much time in sending this kind of a message to the world. So as you know that, the draft to Schedule M is published in 2018. The good manufacturing practices is nothing but Schedule M. Till date, it was not made as a law. So once they come out with the Schedule M amendment, that is going to help the regulatory mechanism as well as the industry and the consumer to move in a right direction.
Okay. Mr. Bhaskar, will you be cancelling the licenses of these firms who have been pulled up? Have you had any dialogue with the government?
No, except reading the papers about this news, I have no direct communication from the government or from the CDSCO.
Okay. Dr. Lamba, while the crackdown has been positive, do you think that it's just limited to being a knee-jerk reaction?
Well, thank you, Ekta. I see it as a ray of hope for both the patients as well as the industry. And I see this as a welcome move, and this crackdown is more than, essential right now to give a signal to the world that we manufacture only quality medicines in the country. Though this is a very small figure out of approximately 10,000 manufacturers in the country, but I would say that the action has started, but a lot needs to be done further to improve, as Uday Bhaskar Garu said, the regulatory mechanism in the country to ensure that there's a uniform practice of implementation of these guidances and the laws as far as the pharmaceuticals are concerned between the center and the state.
Okay. Dr. Lamba, that's exactly what I wanted to touch upon, that India's image as the pharmacy of the world. Was it impacted, according to you, with your dialogues that you might have had on the other side of the table?
Yes, talking to some of the companies across India and also abroad who are importing the products from India. India is considered as a pharmacy of the world, and I think it is very important for the pharmacy of the world to be given powers as well as the legislation to control. The impact is already noted. There are organizations and countries who have already shared their concerns with WHO as well as the government of India. And also during my discussions with both the regulators as well as these companies across the world, there are indications that if we do not take action at the earliest, this tag of pharmacy of the world is really at risk.
Okay, so the tag of pharmacy of the world is really at risk. Mr. Bhaskar, you look at the pharma export angle for a lot of the pharmaceutical firms. Has trade been impacted since the month of October last year when these incidents really came to light?
As far as monetary front is concerned, there is no much change. But the credibility side is, there is a dent. Certainly, we never had such kind of a serious events. So my point to the regulators, I was also a regulator for more than 27, 28 years, being a facilitator and dealing with different countries, the export front. Any adverse event is reported. The investigation should be in a mission mode. And strict action, instantly, the issue is to be investigated on the manufacturers, and the people who are guilty of it should be flushed out. So that kind of a message, we have failed to send it to the globe. So we have taken more than 3 months, 4 months to send a strong message to the world. So when we are talking to the regulators of different countries, so everybody is talking about the quality issues. Earlier, it was not there. So our exports are growing well, and we have recorded 3.42%, and we have already crossed 23 billion and exported, and we are exporting to cross 25 billion in this financial year. But the kind of the credibility issues are arising, and most of the people are asking and talking about the quality, and the people who are waiting for this opportunity, they will exploit the situation before we are going to lose the credibility, and before losing the market. So we need to repair, and this kind of a message should have been sent 3 months back.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you, Mr. Bhaskar, to put on your regulatory hat, considering that you did work as a regulator for over 2 decades. What are the structural changes that need to be undertaken? And do you think that the inspection which has taken place by the government of these 76 firms was more of a knee-jerk reaction? More has to be done. And if so, what are those changes?
Lot is to be done, and my friend Sanjit Lamba has clearly mentioned, out of 10,000 manufacturing facilities, and it's a big news to the media. And but you need to do a lot of repair, particularly, and Schedule M is to be amended. Now we are talking about the convergence, harmonization, and we need to match our regulations, our Schedule M, to the global standards. That is the one area we need to upgrade, and unfortunately, we are not able to amend our Schedule M. So this is particularly the lack of commitment. That is very much important. And PharmExcel has organized a global regulators meet in the month of September. We have invited regulators from 70 countries, and procurement agencies and CDSO is also part of that. Unfortunately, the convergence and the dialogue between the Indian regulators and the foreign regulators are not happening. So that is one thing. The another point is that, there is no rapid response cell at the national level. And, any such kind of an event is happened, the people are waiting for some highest officials to give the statement. So the statement of regulators are more credible than somebody is talking. So this kind of an approach, our regulators are needed. And another one is that, the seeding out and flushing out the non-compliant unit once the Schedule M is amended. that is going to help the Indian pharmaceutical industry. And we are globally, it's a very competitive world, and there are so many competitors to India. If you wanted to sustain our image as a pharmacy of the world, we need to do a lot of things. Particularly, we need to build up confidence among the global consumers as well as the global regulators.
Okay, all right. Build confidence, possibly amend Schedule M as well. Dr. Lamba, I'm going to end this conversation with you. There are a lot of fundamental changes which need to be made. What are your top 3 brief structural changes which are required and are in need of the hour?
Ekta, I think the first and important thing is the structure itself. As you said, we need to really look at a joint we need to merge the center and the state drug regulators, authorities for a better and a uniform control. And, you would hardly see this happening in India, that the center is not able to exercise its control in the state. You will be surprised that between 2020 and 2022, the states gave manufacturing permissions to around 36 drugs, which did not have a CDSCO or a DCGI's approval, which is absolutely violation of the whole the legislation. So the first of all is a central authority for control of pharmaceutical manufacturing and control as a central authority rather than the state control. The second is, as Uday Bhaskar Garu said, that we need to roll out this revised Schedule M at the earliest because it contains number of provisions. The third part is the law itself. Law is there. This needs really control as far as enforcement is concerned. And I would say joint inspections and the labs needs to be strengthened in the country. And another thing which I would like to say is, unlike the Europe and the US and also in other parts of the world where the independent audits are conducted by the subject matter experts on the pharmaceutical companies, that practice needs to be started because the whole onus, the responsibility lies on the government. It's up to the government, even if the resources are not available immediately, at least take the help of an outside help in that case. So 3 very important structural changes are required before we move ahead for improved legislation as far as the pharmaceutical industry is concerned.
Okay, all right, Mr. Bhaskar as well as Dr. Lamba, completely run out of time, but I'm sure this is a topic we will be discussing a lot more in the coming days. Thank you very much for joining in and speaking with us. Well, on that note, it's a time for us to take a break.